You're watching The Ready Writer, a show where I get to speak to writers of all different genres, mediums, and experiences. The Ready Writer. Are you ready?
Hi, and welcome to another episode of The Ready Writer. I am your host, Casey Bell, and today's guest is Tiffany Obeng. Let's get the show started. For you, was becoming an author a childhood dream of yours, or was this something that happened later in life?
So, becoming an author was part of the childhood dreams of things that I could be when I could grow up or when I would grow up. So, among those was becoming a lawyer as well. And so, I just mainly focused on that goal of becoming a lawyer. And then the goal of becoming an author kind of just sat in the back. The goal of becoming an author became more prominent in 2020 during the pandemic when work kind of slowed down, started working from home. And I had come to my mind for my first book, which was Andrew Learns About Actors, 2 years prior. But I hadn't moved on it because I didn't know how to move on it. But 2020, when it slowed down and I could kind of do some more research and figure some things out, that's when I went ahead and pursued the goal of becoming an author.
So, in that, what did you do when you started researching? What did you research? How did you know where to research, and what did you find in the process?
Right. So I have a really good friend who's a published author as well, and she went through a very small publishing company. So initially, I was trying to reach out and go through them, but they were not accepting submissions or something. So I let that simmer, and I was like, I don't know where to go from here. I started researching like traditional publishing companies and found that was difficult. You usually have to have like an agent or something. And then one day on Facebook, I was perusing the site and saw that there was indie publishing groups. And I went in there and started seeing what was going on. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is something I can do myself. So I set up my publishing imprint, Sugar Cookie Books, and dived in.
With that said, during your process of starting Sugar Cookie Books, what were some of the things you learned about publishing and starting a publishing company?
So what I learned was about publishing is that you really have to be willing to research. If you're going to start any business, you have to understand how the business side goes. So I will say one of the mistakes I had was I was just trying to check the goal off my list initially. And so I did not research like the marketing side of it. I was just like, look, I'm going to put out this book because my husband and my mom believes in me and keep saying, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? And I'll check it off my list and say, look, I'm a published author. Now you can leave me alone and I'll move on. But then once you publish one book, you're like, okay, my friends and family have bought it, but what are you going to do with it? And that's when I decided I guess I always knew I was going to continue on because my career books are a series. So I always knew I was going to do at least 4 of those. So when it came time to do the next one, I was like, I'll do it on a 6-month cycle or whatever. Maybe after I recoup my money from the first book or something, because that's something you have to do when you run your own business, which is finance your own publishing expenses. And that's when I started getting into learning how to market the book, learning about the keywords and categories, learning how Amazon kind of works. So that was researching that. I had to research copyrights. I did that the first time. My brother was actually like, hey, are you going to copyright your book? And I was like, I don't know. And so I went to research and I was like, okay, so I'm definitely going to copyright my book. Other things you have to just be kind of ready for is accepting the fact that when you're a creative, it's subjective. So some people may like your work a lot and some people may not. But when you're putting your work out, you're like, this is the best thing. Everybody should have it. No one has done this before. And some people will be like that. But it's very important to understand who your audience is because everyone is not going to be your audience. So that was something else I had to research and learn, like how to figure out who my audience is for my career books, now my season books, and now my divorce book that I have. And so another thing that I learned was that you can't just do one book and stop. So I did my second one and then I really got the wind. I was kind of testing out waters and I was like, okay, well, let me see if I break away from my career books for a second, because they were like kind of slow pacing, So I was like, if I break away from that and go into a book subject or topic that is really being searched and constantly searched, like an evergreen subject, what would happen? So that's when I did Scout's Honor, a kid's book about lying and telling the truth. And that is when everything changed for me as far as starting to see some consistency and feeling like, oh my gosh, I can do this. I don't have to depend on my family and friends to buy my things. Now people I don't know will buy my things, even though that becomes scary too, because you're like, okay, I can control what my family and friends say, but I can control what other people say. So anyway, publishing that and just continuing with, okay, well, let me see about a season. So that's when I did Winnie Loves Winter, which is a book about winter, obviously. And I was like, okay, this kind of works. But what I did learn, so something else I learned, when you do seasonal type books, so like holiday books or season book, they have a good wave, but then that wave comes back down. So you have to just be ready to either have something to supplement it or just be like, okay, well, it was good while it lasted. So I don't know if I'm answering your question anymore, but those are some of the things I learned and some of the things I researched.
Well, next question, while I wanted to get into the book, the other thing I wanted to ask was, so you started during the pandemic, so you never really had the opportunity, maybe you have now. Originally, though, you didn't have the opportunity to experience book signings and book festivals. So is that something you've done recently? And if not, well, you've never experienced it, so it's not like it was something you lost. Though, what were some of the things you chose to do in spite of you not being able to be out there to market your book?
Great question. So in 2020, as you said, the pandemic, or as we said, the pandemic hits. So it's like, how do you even go about marketing your book? How do you introduce this to other segments outside of your friends and family? People got really creative during the pandemic. So they were doing a lot of virtual book signings or virtual book readings, things like that. So I had started joining virtual book fests and things like that to kind of get out there and get a feel of things. I did virtual readings. And then when the world started opening up a little bit, I have a very young daughter. So I had a baby in 2021. So it's still in the middle of the pandemic. And so I'm still very cautious about going out. I know the world is opening up, but I just don't want to get her sick. So anywho, we have a local farmers market. So I started doing that late 2021 when I had about 5 books, because my husband was like, don't go out there with 1 book. So when I had about 5 books, I went out there and just to get the feel of the people who will buy these things. What do they like about it? What are they saying about it? How do you market? What do you say to these people? So that would help me with my Amazon book description. So during the pandemic, I did virtual things. Still now, we're still kind of doing virtual things. I did get to do a physical or in-person read aloud recently for Read Across America Day. And so that was really fun to actually go in and engage with the kids. I've done, they had like a carnival, a literacy night. And so I was able to go and read during that. So as the world slowly opens back up, I have been able to transition from the virtual to the in-person, which is a difference. But there still are virtual opportunities that are out there that I may partake in from time to time.
Awesome. Now, I want to hear about Scout's Honor. What inspired you to write that book, and give us a little synopsis of it?
So Scout's Honor, a kid's book about lying and telling the truth, which has been on a parent's recommended list. So I'm so excited about that. So that book came about because I was researching topics that are popular, like people are always looking for answers to it. And it said books about lying, children's books about lying. And so during this time, my son was, sorry, I was shaking the desk. During this time, my son was 5. And so he was right in the middle of the age range of when they start to lie, which is 4 to 6, okay? And so I'm looking at different books about lying. And what I was seeing was that customers were looking for something that was simple, like just get to the point, break it down in a way that this age group will know, 4 to 6 years old, and like tell what's wrong with lying, the consequences for lying, and the value of telling the truth. That's what they wanted. They wanted it simplistic. And I say, you know what? I can do this. And what's more important is, I didn't research all the books in the whole wide world, but the books I was coming across didn't feature an African-American main character. So being that I do books with African-American main characters and I have a son, I said, I'm going to put an African-American boy as the center. He's going to be doing normal things, which is, in this case, He was running through the house with a cape on, pretending to be a superhero. Who doesn't do that? And in the midst of doing that, he's going to have an accident. And in this case, he broke a lamp. So that starts the whole story of, is he going to tell a lie or is he going to tell the truth? And so the kid and the parent or whoever's reading it can go through this little journey with him of, these are the different lies I can tell, but this is the consequences for telling those lies. And then he can make the decision to tell the truth and why telling the truth is great. And then, yeah. And it's just very simple. So it's like a 6x9. Do I have it here? I do, but I have to get up. It's a 6x9. Can I get up and get it?
Sure.
Okay. Casey is so kind. He's really nice. And then I still don't have it in here after that. But it's a little 6x9 book that's supposed to give the feel of an easy reader. And like I said, the text is really simple. The illustrations are very vibrant, and it's just a boy doing kid things. And so that book sells really well on Amazon. But also what I found was when I went to the farmer's market, people, all I had to do was say, how old is your kid? It'd be like, oh, he's 5, he's 4, he's 6, or she's 4, 5, 6. And I'm like, this book about lying. And they're like, oh my gosh, we need this. So they would like grab it up. And it's only $9.99 too. So so that's what inspired me, because my son has started, it was a topic that was popular, has started kind of lying. It was a topic that was popular. When the book first printed, quick little funny story, when the book first printed, I shared it with my son. Like I took it out the little Amazon packaging. I was like, look at this. And so he was going through and he's like, yeah, you shouldn't lie. You shouldn't lie. Oh, you should tell the truth. And one of the things that my son was lying about at the time was wearing a mask. So at school, I wanted him to wear a mask. Again, he's 5, so of course that varies. But sometimes when I would go pick him up, I'm like, where's your mask? Did you wear it today? And he would like lie about it. So after he read the book, the next day I went to pick him up. Did you wear your mask all day today? I have something to tell you. No, I didn't. And I was like, yes, it's working. So anyway, so yeah, that's how Scouts Honor came about. And I wish I had it sitting with me.
I really do like that story, and the lesson, obviously, that it's giving children. So you had that box of book. What book was that?
So I'm preparing for a read aloud in a neighborhood. So I have bought a few of my books. So including Scouts Honor, but it's not here yet. So I have my most recent publication, which was Andrew Learns About Engineers. That was the 4th book in the Career Kids. This is my little Christian baby book. It's called I Have 10 Toes, Thank You, Jesus. And it was inspired by my daughter, actually, or me and my daughter's morning routine. Then I have my season book, Spencer Knows Spring, a charming children's book about spring, which is doing really well. It's on a lot of book lists as well. It was on Yahoo's best products for spring children's books. And I was like, what? So that was really cool. Then the one that I mentioned, Winnie Loves Winter, a delightful children's book about winter. And oh yeah. So again, I'm a lawyer. So one of the books, that career books, was Andrew Learns About Lawyers. And so this one was actually read by Prosecutor McCauley on Read Across America Day. And she took a picture of my book along with Jacqueline Winston's book, The Day You Begin, I want to say. But either way, I was like, my book is in the same frame as Jacqueline Winston. So that was exciting. And this is a heartfelt book because I'm a lawyer. I always knew I was going to be a lawyer. But the question is, how did you know? Especially since I'm the first lawyer in my family. I didn't know any lawyers in real life until I was in 11th grade. I don't know. I think people just told me, like, you know how to read, you know how to speak, you know how to write, so you should be a lawyer. I think that was just told to me, but I didn't understand what they did. So I was like, no. Kids are going to understand what lawyers do in a way that they can understand it and make a decision. They'd be able to make a decision. They shouldn't have to wait till 11th grade to understand what a lawyer does. And then this was the second book I had released, Andrew Learns About Teachers. And my actors one is still on its way. I usually don't keep a lot of copies of my books with me because I don't go to markets as much because I just try to make my money off of Amazon. But this is a coloring book as well that I get. So yeah, just dipping my toe in different things. So those are all the books that's in that box.
Well, I hope that's very much encouraging to any aspiring author, because when there are people who are still struggling to publish one book in this season, and here you are from 2020 to what, 2 years or less. I don't even know how many that was, 12,
Well,
13.
that was probably 9 because my 10th one is a proof copy, but my 10th one, the one I had mentioned to you on our little thing, Two Houses Down. This is the book about a story for children about divorce and friendship. So this one, all my books are near and dear to me, but this one is near and dear for the simple fact that it's kind of inspired by my childhood. So my parents had divorced and I moved away, but I had a best friend who stayed 2 houses down before the split. And so what I wondered over the years, especially as an adult, was what questions did my friend have when her best friend was suddenly gone? Like, did she go home that night and say, "Mommy, what is divorce? What does that mean for my friendship with Tiffany?" So I authored this book. So one, parents can be able to talk to their children about anyone's divorce, not just their divorce. It's like a universal tool for that. And two, to talk about, empathy, raise understanding and empathy for the child of divorce. So yeah, you're the one, it hurts that you're losing your friend, but think about all the things that's happening to your best friend. And so this is for ages 6 to 9. And when I was doing my research about what do people want in a divorce book, they said they wanted a story. And so I created a story. So yeah, that's the other one that just came out on Tuesday, March 15th. I think that was Tuesday.
So I find it the fact, because you have 10 books now, and I noticed you only have a spring and winter, which means you got summer and autumn to go. And then with your career books, you've now made it endless because that topic really can't end. And I like the fact that you chose to, as you said, you did the one, you checked it off your list, leave me alone now, and you realize that it's not so much it's off your list, it's why are you supposed to be doing this? And there are parents and children who need these books, and I'm glad you realized you're going to keep doing this because there aren't that many books out there on the topic, and also, as you said, they don't have diversity. And so I'm so glad and encouraged myself that you have chosen to do this, like I said, in 2 years where people are still saying it's not the time, I have to wait until the pandemic is completely over. And it's like, no, you don't. This is actually the time you're supposed to do stuff like this, because once everything opens back up, you really won't have time. You won't have, those ideas. When you're sitting around doing nothing, that's the time to think of ideas. This is the time to do it. And so I'm hoping you are a great encouragement to those authors who are still not an author yet, and hopefully this will encourage them to do so. So with that said, what advice would you give a first-time author from lessons you've learned?
So the advice for lessons I learned would be, one, do it. I heard another author say, do it scared. And I thought that was like the most accurate statement or advice that could be given. Because I was terrified to do this. Again, it's a creative type undertaking. People have all their different opinions about it. So do it scared. Like if you don't know what you're doing, or you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, I can never do this. A lot of people who are like, man, I love that you've written so many books, I want to write a book. And I'm like, write it. Like, just start writing. See where it takes you. You have people that you can pay to edit. You could pay, if you're doing a picture book, you get illustrators. There's so many type of illustrations, because sometimes people are like, well, I don't have the money to do it. They got Kickstarter options. You got pre-order options. Your illustrations can be full spread or spot. It just depends. You can always negotiate with certain illustrators. So it's really, if you want to do it, all you got to do is really, truly just get started and do it. Lessons learned, again, is just having a marketing plan. I don't think I'm great at marketing. Someone recently did say, hey, tell me, how you market your things. And I'm like, oh, thank you for thinking I'm a guru on it. Because I don't know. But no, I do take marketing classes. I do scour the groups for marketing advice. I do try to put some of it to use, and I guess it's been mildly successful. I do wonder, like, if I really, really put together like a true legit marketing plan, how much further I could be right now. So that's a lesson learned, and I'm still learning. Like right now, I'm getting one sheets made for my books so I can send them out to like potential bloggers and schools or whoever, bookstores perhaps. Another lesson learned was if you're going to be a author, um, uh, a Black author, let's just say that, and if you're going to put out content that displays Black children or Black families, just be prepared for people to not like that. So I've had, but don't be deterred by it. Be prepared, but not deterred. So my lawyer book that I put out had hate speech on Amazon that I had to get taken down. And I was just like, who would do that? Like, why would you take the time, the lawyer book? Why would you take the time to purchase the book to say such mean things about it? The person who left the review, if you will, was upset that I had the mitigated gall to show an African-American woman as a lawyer talking to her Black son about his possibilities of becoming a lawyer. And also, my career books have little tiny history lessons in it. So the lawyer's book in particular mentions Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That person hated it. It mentions Thurgood Marshall. It mentions Fred Gray. And it mentions one other person who's slipping my mind. But they just hated everything about the book. And I'm like, this is why I write it, because our kids need to know, and sorry, I'm getting on a soapbox, but like our kids need to know that they can be anything that they want to be, because unfortunately, that is still a novel idea for Black people and children, that we can be anything. We're still making first in so many areas, and it's 2022 at this point, and we're still making first. And even when I recently did the Read Across America reading at the school, one of the questions I asked the kids, who was a diverse group, but two of the boys who were Black, or who are Black, say, what do you want to do when you grow up? The first response was, I want to be a basketball player. And the second response was, I want to be a rapper. And I'm like, this is why, not saying those things are bad, not saying that at all. But I'm like, this is why I write these books, because we have to know that we can be so much more and beyond. Those are not the only things that we can be, but that's what they see when you turn on the TV, or you might know someone who's playing basketball, and if they play it well enough, they can probably get to the NBA or NFL or wherever. But I'm like, no, you can be a lawyer, you can be an engineer, you can be anything you want to be. So if you're a diverse author, writing diverse content or featuring diverse figures, there may be some people that don't like it, and you still just have to go forth and prosper, especially in social media age.
Well, two things I'll say about that. It's not just a Black problem, it's a school problem altogether, because when they prepare children for school, for work, one of the things they don't do that they need to start doing is they have that one day of career day where, parents come in. The thing is, there are thousands of jobs out there that exist that most people don't even know exist. And so it's like, how do you know what you can be when you don't even know they exist in the first place? I mean, I just recently, I think last year, I was watching television. I just assumed, the glass tubes you used in chemistry to do all of that were just made by machines. Come to find out, there are actually people who glass blow those and make those. And I have no interest in doing that. I just thought, well, that's something someone could have been had they knew it actually existed, and they don't teach you that. And so the first problem is they don't even teach, period, all the jobs that exist and the possibilities. And then the second problem is they don't teach you can be a rapper and a lawyer, and you can also be fashion something. Like, you don't have to just choose one thing. You can actually do multiple things either at once, or you can choose, okay, for the first 5-10 years of my life, I'm going to do this, and then the next I'm going to do that. And school doesn't really give all the possibilities, and maybe it's impossible to give all the possibilities. They don't even give 20% of the possibilities. They give a very small bracket. And then the third problem I would say is they're very prejudiced. So, for instance, I didn't get good grades in school, especially in English class, and yet I'm a writer, author, poet, ASCAP songwriter, playwright, screenwriter. And so if you're not doing well in a subject, teachers judge you and tell you what you can't do and what you won't be, because you're not good enough. And so many celebrities this day say their teachers told them what they couldn't be, what they will never be, and they're not good enough. And to me, I'm like, first of all, you don't know the future, so you don't know what technology is coming down the. You don't know what new inventions are coming, so that maybe they will be able to do that. Furthermore, why would you tell a child what they can't be, won't be, and shouldn't be? Just because they're having troubles now doesn't mean they will have it in the future. And so it's very limiting, the school system, as far as opening up the eyes of children, of letting them see that you have all possibilities. Not only that, if you choose to be a rapper today, tomorrow you can change your mind. It's not a set in stone type of thing. And I just wish school did better. And I'm hoping parents, because we want so much from the school. At the end of the day, Maya Angelou said it best: when someone shows you who they are, believe them. They're not changing. So I hope parents do purchase your book so that they can show their children that even though the school's not showing you this, you can be an engineer, you can be a lawyer, you can be a teacher, you can be whatever else books you have coming along the way. And so I greatly do appreciate you for producing these books, and sure hope you have many more, 30, 40, 50, 500 more coming along the way.
I do say that I do plan to become, remember Britannica encyclopedias and how they had like 26 of them plus? I was like, I'm going to be the Britannica of kids' career books. So these are 4, but I have so many more that I do hope that I'm able to do, because I want to be where someone can say, oh, I want to know more about, my son is begging me to do a paleontologist one, so we'll see. But if they say, I want to know more about paleontologists, they can pick up my books, they rhyme. The lawyers and engineers one does have phonetic assistance and glossaries, because the terms can be a little bit more technical than teacher and actors, but it's still supposed to be engaging and fun and informative. And what I think is different about my particular career books is that instead of taking a number of careers for 32 pages and just hitting like 1 point of a number of careers, it actually takes the time for those 32 pages to break down different or highlight different things that are important. So trying to think. So for engineers, for example, that made me think about what you said too, about the possibilities. So a study shows that kids don't want to be engineers when they grow up. But the reason behind it was they didn't know that that's a job that exists. Okay, so to your point. And when I was doing my research, which included actual computer research, but also talking to engineers in my family, I was like, I didn't know y'all job was so cool. Like, I'm not good at math and science, but I'm like, what y'all do is like so inspiring and so important for society. And I had no idea. So like, if kids could know like everything you pretty much touch and play with, you kid, like this is because of an engineer. But so the engineer books highlight the engineering design process, the subjects that's important for engineers, the perseverance, like character traits of engineers. They try and try and try again. And a lot of times their idea doesn't work, but they keep going until it does. It talks about the 4 major types of career engineers. So civil, mechanical, chemical, and mechanical. Did I say that already? Yes, I did. Civil, mechanical, chemical. What's the other one? Can't remember. But the 4 of them. And so
Music?
just doing that. You said what?
Music engineer?
No, but I am thinking about doing like a producer one later on. So it's just packs a lot of information, but in digestible way. So we can try to cover a gamut of it. And that's what I like about my career books, because even though I'm biased, because it can take the time to really break down a career, to explain it to a child.
Well, we can go back and forth on this all day. I don't want to, spend 2 hours on this topic. So my next question is going to somewhat be off the topic, off subject, because I was thinking about you being a lawyer. Have you ever thought of writing a book on, not necessarily for children, more so for adults, on what is expected of you as a client? Because I know as me, where I work, there are things I wish, where I used to work, there were things I wish the customer knew before they came to me, so they know what I can do, what I can't do, and what they need if they want a nice, transaction. And so for you, I'm sure, I don't know how many years you've been a lawyer. I know for a fact you've had days where you wanted to strangle your clients. And even though it may be common sense, well, some things are just common sense. would you ever consider writing a book, letting them know that if you want to win your case, there are some things that are very important you need to do, some things you need to know, even before you hire the lawyer, while you have the lawyer, and what happens after the case is over? Would you ever consider writing a book of the important things that are needed to win your case, or whatever the case may be, things you need to know when you're in, getting sued or et cetera as a client, so that you're not frustrating your lawyers to want to strangle you?
Wow, I never even thought of that, but I think that's a great idea that I'll probably put in my journal and see, like, so if themes come to mind or topics come to mind, I'll put it in my journal, and then I'll just go around in life. And if other stuff starts building on it, that's when I kind of like see, like, how can I make this into something? So that's kind of like my brainstorming process. So I will definitely be putting that in my journal, seeing like how can that come together as a book. But that is, do I have to credit you for the idea?
No, well, I think, when it comes to books, especially work books, job books, they always talk about what to do on the job, and there aren't any books for the customers. And I truly believe work, because some people bring their anger home into the family, and now their children and the spouse has to hear, cursing because they're upset at something that happened at work. The thing is, sometimes customers just don't know. And even if it seems like, how can you not know? Sometimes people are not thinking. They're only thinking about themselves and what they need at that moment. So if there were books out there to say, hey, if you're going to go to a store, if you're going to get a lawyer, or you're going to go to a doctor, these are the things you really should know before you go. And so that everything goes smoothly. So I just thought that would be, because I've seen, certain things I've seen or heard, I'm thinking, how could you not know that? Especially, and I know sometimes you can get scared, which this would go with your book, Scout's Honor. I don't think people understand, when you have a lawyer, you can lie to the police, you can lie to the judge, never lie to your lawyer, because that makes them look bad if the truth comes out in the courtroom and they didn't even know. That makes things worse for you. And it makes the lawyer look bad, and there's nothing the lawyer can do for you. And so when the lawyer client has the law where the lawyer, unless, it's something, the lawyer is not supposed to say anything. So you can't lie to them. And that, I don't think people understand. And even certain things like 15 minutes at the least early, don't be late, and, dress appropriately at the courtroom, and things to do in front of the judge, not to do, not to say, just simple things to help lawyers not have to go home angry and wanting to kick someone and strangle someone. And, so it was just an idea that came to me that we don't.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So I'm definitely going to take that under advisement and see if I can make that into something, because that's an awesome idea, and I think it would have potential.
Awesome. All right. So my last question for you, I know you said I forgot it already. The last book you showed me, you said that was a draft. Other than that book, are you now working on another book that should be coming out in the near future?
So I like to say that I'm on a creator break as of March 15th. So the Two Houses Down came out March 15th, and I said, okay, now I need to woosah, because I published those books. Other than Actors and Teachers, the rest of the books you saw came October to now. So that was a very short span. And they're all quality, so they're not rush jobs. It just was flowing, if you will. I had been working on the script for lawyers and working on the script for engineers for a while, because those are harder to piece together, especially since they rhyme, and because they deal with topics, careers, and you're trying to figure out, like, how do I break this down to a child that they will understand and that they will like. So anywho, so I'm on a creator break at the moment. My mom, my husband, and my fan, like my seasons book fan, are all like, you need to get summer out. When are you going to do summer? And I'm like, you know what? My brain can't even conceive summer right now. Like, I have nothing for summer at the moment. So I might be back for fall. I hope that something will come together that I can end my break in a few months and put out a fall book. And then the following year, I could put out a season book. So right now, I plan at least a 3-month break. We'll see how that goes. Because, once your brain gets to resting, then it might start kicking up some creative juices. But I'm on a creative break. I like to say that, even though no one believes me.
Well, I definitely believe in creative breaks. I know the writer's world has this mindset that a writer should be writing every day, and I personally don't believe that, because it's like, if you're not going to write anything significant, why write? You know, don't just write just to write. And I do believe taking breaks. I know that's what I've done when I've taken breaks and lived life. You know, hearing or seeing other people's live their lives caused me to come up with ideas. And so definitely take your break. And publishing books itself is 8 hour. I mean, publishing a book, and I'm sure you had illustrators. Still, the fact that you didn't hire someone to find the illustrator and talk to the illustrator, you didn't hire some, like, it's work, and your brain needs rest from it. So take your break and enjoy every minute of it. And the moment you get those ideas, jot them down and start back up again. So last thing, if you can just give some encouraging words to either the parents, the guardians, or the children who considering purchasing your book. And if you are watching, do not purchase your books if you are going to be mean and say something nasty, because you know, when I was growing up, I don't know what happened. There was this old time saying, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. And America has completely gotten rid of that rule altogether. So anyways, to those who are enjoying this and they really like your books and they're thinking, oh, I'm going to get at least one, some encouraging, inspiring words for the parents, guardians, and the children.
So I think my books, especially since I have so many that range different topics, the career books as a set is beautiful. I'm sorry I don't have my 4 to show all together. I do have my 3. I don't have my 4 to show all together. Just a little background. Casey was very generous with me because I had a parent debacle, so I was kind of not prepared for our time. So he's been really nice. That's why my background looks just normal. But anyway, the career books are really good. My goal was to make career day any day and every day, because as Casey said, schools may have career day or they may not, but it doesn't matter, because if you have the career books, you can always have an opportunity to introduce a different career to your child and just start the conversation about what to do, and to also instill in them that they can be anything they want to be. Like, that's just so important, to allow your child or impart in your child that the possibilities are endless. So my son thinks that he's going to be a scientist, paleontologist, an illustrator. I'm telling him about animation. He does his, he draws a lot, and so he likes to put motion on them. And I'm like, maybe you could be an animator, you know? So anywho, so I think that's encouraging, to make career day any day or every day. The season books are just really fun and cute and charming and delightful. I don't know if you can really see it, but they are good for ages probably 2 to 8. They're simple, but they have facts, so it's fun. My books are nonfiction pretty much for the most part. The 2 Houses Down is probably the only one that's has a little bit more story to it that's fictionalized, but they are nonfiction books put in fiction settings. So we have the fictional character Winnie talking about winter, or the fictional character Spencer talking about spring, but it's about facts. So how do you know that it's winter? How do you know that it's spring? And that's what my books do, and they're easy to read. From people, customer reviews, apparently little girls love to read Winnie Loves Winter every night, and others, kids, love to read Spencer Knows Spring often, especially since at the end he says, like, spring is definitely here. I knew it. So that's like a little fun thing. And then I guess that's the encouragement. Like, you'll find something that you'll like. So there's so many different books, so you'll find something that you like. If you have a person who's not being honest, then I definitely recommend Scout's Honor. And not only do I recommend it, but it's recommended by other people as a helpful resource to get your kid back on a straight and narrow.
That is all the time we have for you today on The Ready Writer. I'd like to thank our guest, Tiffany, for stopping on by, and you, of course, the audience, thank you for watching. Have a great day.